Tim.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's class, the Winsor Newton Garden Herbs class. My name is Tim DePack, and I'm from Winsor Newton, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm being joined by Shailene Louise, who will be your artist instructor for today's class. Shailene will be taking you through today's class by providing you information about the products being used, showing you how to perform some of her favorite watercolor painting techniques, and creating these herbs using the Winsor Newton Cotman Watercolor paints. She'll also give you a sneak peek at some of her upcoming classes, and I will provide the link for you in the chat if you wish to sign up for those classes in advance. Before we begin, there is a sketch for this class, and Felicia will drop that in the chat for everyone, just in case you need to print that out. The link will be in the chat for you. Also, upon completion of the class, you will receive a survey in your email inbox. Please let us know your thoughts of the class, how we did, and if there's any topics you'd like to see Shailene do in the future for us, please drop them in the comments on there. Also, just a reminder, Felicia did mention that the class will be available 24 hours after completion, but because today is Friday, you'll see that on Monday show up. Also, I'd like to say that with that being recorded, please feel free to paint along with Shailene or sit back and relax, and feel free to paint this at another later time while the replay is there. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Shailene Louise.
Hey everybody, that just made me so excited just hearing Felicia and Tim talk. So it's been like 5 months and I've had a baby. His name is Raphael, and it's really good to be back. I might be a little bit slow or foggy, but bear with me. So today we're going to be painting these herbs. We've got some basil, sage, and rosemary. And what we'll be doing is I'll walk you through the process of sketching it out, just kind of freehand, and then we'll paint it together. And yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I think it's a good class for kind of beginner intro to watercolor people. So let's switch to overhead view, and I'll talk you through some supplies, and we can get to it. So today I have 3 sheets of 5x7. This is Winsor & Newton cold press paper. So we're going to have 3 individual little paintings like you saw. I'm going to use 4 different colors today. I have lemon yellow, ultramarine blue, sap green, and yellow ochre. And yesterday when I ran through it, I realized that these are the 3 main colors. We may or may not use very much of the lemon yellow, but we'll see. I have a size 5 and a size 1. These are Cotman round brushes, also from Winsor & Newton. So I'll kind of use these 2 interchangeably. Mostly I'm going to be using the number 5. If you have some different size brushes, that's fine. I would just recommend having 2 brushes on hand. I like to use one to drop color and one to kind of smooth color, but it's nice to have 2 different sizes of tips as well. So I have just a regular pencil and an eraser. I have water here and paper towel. So let's get started here. Oh, one other thing I have, didn't even mention that. I'm using a Fineliner today, which I've never actually used in one of these classes. So I'm using a 0.5, and we're going to be writing just some script at the bottom of our paintings. So let's go ahead and start by, I'm going to pull my sketch into frame, my sketch reference. So let's see here. Why don't we go and start by writing rosemary at the bottom of your paper here. And I want to just encourage you, if you feel like you don't have good handwriting, doesn't matter. I would just own it. Don't try and make your handwriting perfect Pinteresty. Just use the handwriting you have, and I think it's going to look really cool. So I'm going to go and use some cursive because that is my handwriting. I write in cursive. So I kind of just want it to be sort of centered. That's kind of all I'm concerned about, making sure it's about like 1 inch on both sides. And for the rosemary, thank you. My husband just grabbed me some water. Hey, Dan, can you take Rosita out? Okay, so for this rosemary, I'm actually going to, let me keep it simple. I'm actually not going to draw all of these all the little stems because I'm just going to go for it while I'm painting. But if you have all those little lines drawn, that's totally fine. But for now, I'm actually just going to keep it really simple and just have the main two stems. So one tall one and then one going off to the right, okay? Easy enough, right? All right, next one, let's do sage. So for our sage, let's see, I'll go ahead and start by writing sage at the bottom. Not quite centered. All right, and then this sage shape, it's kind of got a little bit of a curve to it. And I'll go and start by drawing this little leaf, bigger leaf. And notice these leaves are kind of round shapes. They're kind of like, they kind of look like lips in a way. So I have one leaf there and another leaf peeking out from behind. We have our big tall leaf here. I'm going to draw the center veins as well. I didn't draw those yet. Let's draw another leaf hiding behind that tall one. Another leaf off to the right. It's nice to see them kind of layered on top of each other. It just gives them a little more interest and dimension rather than just all being, you know, kind of laying flat right next to each other. Another overlapping leaf. All right. And then at the end here, I kind of just look at it and make sure it all feels kind of balanced. I actually feel like I want to take this leaf down a little bit. So just kind of get it, like just sort of step back in a way and make sure it feels balanced on your paper. Doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, it feels pretty good. Then I'm going to make this small leaf go a little bit over to the left. And that feels good. All right, so now let's go to our last one. So this is the basil, and the basil is going to be the it's going to be the one we spend the most time on. I'm not going to say it's the hardest, but it's definitely going to take a little more focus than the other ones. So, all right, so basil. Let's go and write basil down at the bottom in pencil. That feels good. That feels balanced. So the sketch for basil is pretty easy. You'll notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. So we're going to start with this leaf that's coming off to the left. And these leaves are also not super pointy. So go ahead and draw the veins. And then, so the center vein and then the veins going off to each side. Let's draw another leaf going off to the right side. So notice these two leaves kind of meet in the middle. All right. I'm going to have a small leaf just pointing straight up. Let's draw a big leaf reaching downward and a little bit to the left. Not too pointy at that end. And then the veins coming off to each side. And then one more at the top. And out of all three of these herbs, I'd have to say basil is my favorite because it makes me think of pizza. Good margarita pizza with just big pieces of chopped basil on top is my favorite. So, all right, so let's get to some painting. So let me hold that sketch up for you real quick. Like I said, easy enough. The sketch is easy enough, a little bit more challenging to paint. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to kind of work each one of these paintings. I'm going to take up like a 3 different passes at each one and then kind of move them like conveyor belt style. So I'm going to start with Rosemary. And I'm going to start by using my size 5, my 5 round brush. Get my brush wet. And let me go ahead and just get some sap green. Sap green mixed here on my palette. So go ahead and just get your brush wet and then activate that color by rubbing the bristles into your paint, whether you're using paint pans or tube paints. Just get a nice little puddle going. More on the watery side. Okay, and then go ahead and grab just a little bit of yellow ochre. Just a tiny bit. And then once you have this color mixed, like I said, I didn't draw all those lines to the right and left because I'm going to do that now. So no need to overthink this part. I want you to just kind of following the center, start at the top and just kind of go over sort of to the right, to the left. I don't want this color to be too dark. I want some to be reaching like straight left, and then some of them are more of like a, 2 o'clock, some are 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock. We want them to kind of feel like they're not all uniform, just perfectly fanned out. We want them to be kind of overlapping. And I'll hold this up for you in a second. But don't overthink it. It kind of helps me to move quickly. I want it to be sort of free and easy. You can have some of them pointing almost straight up. And like I said, I'm using a size 5 brush here. You can use a thinner brush if you want to. I think as long as you're using just the tip of your watercolor brush, you should be able to get some really fine lines here. And do the same thing for this stem that's coming off to the right side. Okay. So hold on, just a couple more. So there you go. They're a little, we want it to look a little bit scrappy looking, natural and kind of, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that now, like I said, I'm doing the conveyor belt here. So I'm going to put this one back over here and we'll let that one dry, and let's go to the sage. So let's see here. For sage, I'm going to use ultramarine blue and yellow ochre. And that's going to create like a really beautiful sage color, kind of a mossy green. This is probably my favorite color out of the whole, all the greens we're going to mix today. This is my favorite green. I really like a mossy, kind of desaturated color like this. So if you have a little more yellow, it's going to be more green. If you have a little more blue, it's going to be a little bit more on the blue side. So a little more cool. I'm trying to get it just right in the middle of those 2 shades. And I'm still using my size 5 brush and using a really watery mixture. Very watery, okay? Not too dark here, not yet. Start at the top of your painting, just at one of these top leaves, and then just go ahead and desaturate that color even more. So just if you want to desaturate it or just use a little bit less color, just dip your brush in the water and then blot it on a paper towel, and you'll have a really nice light layer of this green color. In watercolor, we always want to start light and then slowly add darker layers and darker values. But we always want to start light first. So we're going to do kind of just a uniform layer of this light mossy green color. Go ahead and paint your stem. It's all the same color. And if your paint starts to get kind of, if it kind of like stops and goes and it's getting kind of streaky, just add a little bit more water to it. And that water should make that paint flow really nicely. Kind of streaky there, so I'm grabbing a little bit more water. And I'm getting that even layer on all of these leaves. And then the last one. Okay, so I'm going to let this one dry. Move it over to the end. Let it dry, and now let's work on our basil. So for this basil, I'm going to grab some sap green, and I'm just going to find a clean spot on the palette. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of ultramarine blue. I do want this to be heavier on the sap green side though. So think maybe 75% sap green, 25% ultramarine blue. It's like mixing it's like a little recipe. Okay, so once you have that mixture ready, I want it to be a little more on the watery side, not too heavy of a color. So just add a little bit more water to your mixture. Make sure it's really, really flowy. Just make sure the paint moves. So it's not super syrupy, you know what I mean? If it's really syrupy, it's going to be very thick. So start at the top, and then let's do an even layer of green on all of these little basil leaves. This is called a wet on dry wash. So we're using a wet brush on dry paper. And we're trying to make it really smooth, this color. Just an even layer of green. And the way we get it really even is by having a lot of water in our brush, or in our mixture, I should say. And that water is going to take it and evenly disperse it across the surface of your painting. And then last thing here is I'm just going to paint this stem. And then we will let this one dry. Okay, so just even layer of green. Sap green and ultramarine blue. Mostly sap green. All right, back to Rosemary. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to that mixture that I had for the sap green. So it was sap green with a little bit of yellow ochre. And what I'm going to do now is just get a deeper, richer mixture of these two colors. And then I'm going to add that color to just a few of these bristles. These little, what do you call those, bristles or leaves? Not all of them. I would do
I'm
like
sure
every
someone in the
third.
audience will tell us exactly what they are.
I know.
We have good people out there that are doing their research for us. They're all on Google
A lot
right now.
Yep, a lot of botanists. But yeah, like I said, do like I would say every third little bristle. And see how that's just immediately giving us a little bit more dimension. It doesn't look quite as flat, does it? Like look at these ones compared to over here where it's just the one color. Now it looks like there's some that are in the foreground and some are a little more pushed to the background. And this mixture is the same color that I did earlier. It's just a stronger pigment. So I'm just using a little bit less water and a little bit more paint. So when I was saying earlier, I didn't want that syrupy mixture when the color is moving kind of slowly on my palette because it's just really thick. That's what I want now. I want it to be a little bit thicker. And it's going to make for a much darker color value, the thicker it is on the palette. All right, just going to draw just a couple extras. I feel like I want this side to be a little bit thicker. Okay, let me hold that up for you. Looks like real rosemary, doesn't it? Including one more right there. And now I'm going to let this one dry, move it to the back of the line. And let's come back to our sage. So for sage, I want all these leaves to, so the backside of sage leaves are darker and the front side is lighter. So I kind of want some of these to be really light and some to be really dark. And that is going to make this look pretty realistic. Or a little more true to life, not necessarily realistic, but true to life, we'll say that. So let's go and start at the top just because it's a good place to start. You don't get your painting wet. So here's what I want to do. I want you to maintain the light center vein of your leaves. So watch how I do this. I'm just going to go on the right and left side and try my best to avoid that center vein. We'll keep that light. And if you kind of mess up and like I didn't do that perfectly, it's all good. It's kind of more of an effect. It does not have to be perfect. So that mixture there is ultramarine and sap green. Sorry, no, I said that wrong. Ultramarine and yellow ochre. And that's how we get this kind of sagey, mossy green. Okay, and so now let's go to this this leaf right here. That's the one. It's sort of the one that goes up the highest. Do the same thing. All right. Let's go over to this leaf right here. I'm kind of bouncing around because I want to let layers dry before I paint any of the leaves that are directly next to one another, because that's how you can kind of get some bleed, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to come down here to this leaf. He's not touching anybody, so that's a safe bet. Let's do this leaf. Let's drop some color over here on this leaf, over here on the left, right side. Remember to keep that center light if you can. Let me go ahead and drop some on this side. Try and keep it really light. So I just dabbed my brush in the water and blotted it on the paper towel just because I wanted a lighter color. I didn't want to be super dark like up here. I want them to be like a gradient of greens. I don't want any two to be exactly the same. Now we're working on the lowest leaf. Let's get a dark mixture for this leaf. Okay, last detail I'll do here. I'm kind of running low on my mixture here, so I'm gonna get a little bit more ultramarine and yellow ochre. Mix those two together. Got to keep up your supply while you're painting, you know, and sometimes the mixture kind of changes a little bit, but that's okay. That is all good. All right, so I'm going to just go and paint this stem. I want it to be like a dark green. And let me just think about this real quick if I want to do anything else before I move on. You might find that your top leaves are feeling pretty dry. I'm going to go ahead and actually just drop one more layer of green on these, on just a few of these leaves. And it's just going to deepen that color even more. Make it an even darker green. So we work in layers to get our really dark colors into watercolor. Takes a while. And I'm going to add a little bit to this bottom leaf. Like I said, I want this one to be really dark. Keeping that center line light. And I'm still using the size 5 brush here. I have a really nice fine point on this brush, so I'm able to really get some nice detail with it. And it holds a little bit more extra water, but then it has a nice point. So this is a really versatile brush to use. Okay, I'll come back to this one shortly. Let's come back to basil now. So for this basil, remember our mixture for basil was sap green and a little bit of ultramarine blue, mostly sap green though. So now I'm going to be moving into the thicker mixture portion of this painting. So I want this mixture to move a little more slowly on the palette. Not super transparent. We want it to lay on a little thick. And so this is the part for this basil that takes a little bit more effort. And I'm just going to pull in my reference that I did yesterday. So just some things to note about basil. Notice how the leaves kind of have like a rounded edge in a way, like they don't look like they're just flat. Like the sage leaves, they look a little more flat, right? But the basil looks like there's a little bit of like bubbling happening where these veins are. So we're gonna work this one out. It's gonna take a little more time, like I said. So the way I'm gonna start is I'm going to just follow this center vein up at the top and the veins off to the right and the left. And then I want to just go along the outer perimeter on the right and the left side. And I'm going to go and just follow the shape of this little leaf that it's right behind. So what I want to do is I want to create like some distance between this little leaf and this leaf behind it. So I'm rinsing off this brush, blotting it on a paper towel. So it's just a damp brush now. And then using that damp edge, I'm going to go and just activate those lines. And I want to feather them out just a little bit. Okay, because I don't want these hard lines. I want it to look kind of soft and natural. That makes sense? And I'll hold this up for you in just a second so you can kind of see how that looks. All right. See how it's a little more natural, soft looking once you do that kind of process of dropping color and then smoothing it out. So I'm going to switch brushes now. I'm going to switch over to the size 1 brush, go back to this mixture over here, and I'll do the same thing. So starting over here with this leaf on the left, drop that color in. Let's drop some color here at the edge on the outer side. You can go and stop right there. You don't have to go all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to my size 5 brush, keep it damp and clean. And let's go activate those lines so that they're not just hard paint lines, but they're sort of smooth and gradient, feathered out, I guess I should say. So we want to keep it all soft, keep it all natural. All right, so I'll hold that up for you. It's come into life, isn't it? All right, so switch back to the small brush. And let's go to this little leaf up here. So go ahead and drop. For this one, I'm not going to do the outer edges. What I'm going to do is the veins. And then I'm going to drop some color right here, like in between, kind of this little crevice between these 2 leaves. And I want to create like a shadow. So drop some dark color in there. And then switch to my damp clean brush and smooth out all these lines. All right. See how now it looks like now it looks like there's a bigger leaf behind it and it's sitting right in front of it. This one is definitely fun to paint. I like this process. So I'm going to go over here to the leaf over to the right side, do the same thing. I'm going to add an extra little vein there. Let's go ahead and drop a little bit of color on the outer rim, just a little bit. And then switch over to your damp clean brush. That same technique. And that damp edge is just activating that color just enough to move it around. And this is definitely a technique that might take a little bit of practice. Sometimes your paint might be a little bit too wet to do that. Sometimes you want to let it sit for a minute so that the paint can kind of dry a little bit so that it still kind of faintly has those lines. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. Okay, so our last basil leaf here at the bottom. This is the big one, and I'm running out of paint, so I'm getting my supply up again. This is sap green with a little bit of ultramarine blue. And let's follow that center vein all the way down. And let's go over to the right and left, follow those veins. And I'm going to drop some extra paint color underneath these 2 leaves that are right above it, because I want to create a little bit of a shadow there. So it looks like these 2 leaves are sitting on top of this bottom leaf. And let's go ahead and follow the edge of this leaf at the bottom. And then same technique here. Like I said, this leaf definitely more of a process than the other two. So I have a painting here that actually has a few other herbs that we haven't done on here in this class. I think, what do we have? Mint, oregano. So what other ones are there? Mint, cilantro, oregano. I can't remember what some of these other ones are. You guys might recognize. Tell me what these two are. I can't remember. But anyways, if we were thinking about maybe doing another class where we could offer a few more herbs, and so it could be kind of like a series where you could maybe frame these and have them in your kitchen or give them away as a gift. Just let us know if that sounds like something that would be interesting for a future class.
You got a couple comments of his thyme and bay leaves and stuff like that. So
That's it. Yeah, thyme and bay leaves. Yeah. All right, so this is probably a good place to move over. After I do one more thing, I'm going to paint the stem this darker green color. And this is where we're taking a break from this one, and we'll come back to it. I want to add a little bit more dimension and depth to it, so darker color values. So we'll let this one dry. Let's go back to Rosemary, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do yellow ochre. So this is kind of a new mixture I'm getting ready here. So I'm going to draw the stem of this one. So we're going to do yellow ochre with just a tiny bit of sap green. And I want it to be kind of like a brownish green color, mostly more on the brown side. Okay. So what I'm going to do, starting at the top, I'm going to just drop this in just a few spots where I can see that pencil line. And I'm just going to be drawing the stem, kind of peeking out through it. And I'll hold this up for you so you can see what this looks like. It's a pretty subtle effect. And then at the bottom, go ahead and just draw a dark stem here. To the right and to the left. And then work your way up here, over to the right. It is a very subtle effect, but it helps it look completed. All right. There you go. So our rosemary, the painting part is completed. So move it to the back of the line. Let's come back to sage. Not a whole lot left to do on this one, but I want to go back to that color. That's ultramarine and yellow ochre. It's probably dried, so you might want to activate that with some water. Get that color flowing again. So let's see here. What am I going to do here? I think I'm going to add just a little bit of color. This is a really light layer here, very watery. I'm going to add just a little bit of depth to some of these back leaves. I want to make sure that you can see that center vein. Okay. So see how it's not as dark as the leaf next to it, but it's kind of in the middle of maybe this one here. Really watery mixture. Do that same thing here. Very watery, so blot your brush if it's a little bit too dark. Let's keep everything light. Same thing here on this leaf off to the left. This leaf second to the bottom on the left. Just basically all the leaves. I want to make sure that there's just a hint of the center vein. I don't want any of them to just be flat. We want them all to have just a little bit of interest. I'm going to go ahead and add another layer of dark color to this bottom leaf. And I'll add a little bit to this leaf here. And how about one last detail for this leaf up here at the top? I'm just going to add one more layer and then call it a day here.
Shailene, can you repeat the color that you were using again for that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's yellow ochre and ultramarine blue.
Okay, thank you.
And then if you want to, you can go ahead and just deepen that stem just a little bit. Watercolor always dries a little bit light, so got to work in layers and kind of build that color back up. Sometimes it'll look like it's the right color once you paint it, but then you got to come back. So, okay, so this is the finished version of our sage. All right. Feeling good. Move that to the back, and then let's come back to our basil. So I'm going to come back to the same color. So it's sap green and ultramarine blue. Activate that color if it's dried, which mine definitely has. So basically what I'm going to do here is I just want to come back to the spots that I want to be really, really deep. Mostly those shadowy little bits, the parts where the leaves overlap one another. I want those to just be a little bit darker, a little more bold. So I'm going to go and start at this top leaf. Just add a little bit that dark color to the veins on this outer edge of this little teeny leaf. Yeah, that looks way better. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, you need at least 3 layers to really get some deep colors. See how those 2 leaves there, even just, I don't even need to hold it up for you. You can see that these 2 leaves just have a lot more dimension now than these front 3. So let's go ahead and drop that dark green along the veins. Very, very light. Just using the very tip of my brush here. I don't want this to be like a really dark layer. Holding it up. Okay, this leaf over here to the right. Same thing. Just using that very tip of the brush. I might smooth that one out just a little bit. So using my little brush, just dampening it, drying it off. To me, this process feels kind of like, not that I've ever done this, but I kind of think of like excavation or digging for fossils. You kind of like using your little brushes to pull it out of the dirt, you know, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of work. You'll know when it's looking right. Just dabbing a little bit, lifting a little bit. I'm dropping a little bit of color on this outer edge. Okay. And back to my size 5 brush. I'm going to drop some shadow in here again. So that's just the ultramarine blue and sap green, a really strong pigment of those 2 colors. That's how I'm getting this really, really rich, color value of those 2 colors. Drop a little bit of green in those veins. I'll drop a little bit of extra green on the outer edge. And then use my damp brush to just gently feather some of those spots that feel a little bit too thick. I like everything to feel soft. That's how we kind of get the rounded, almost kind of bubbly effect of these leaves. All right. Feels like a pretty good spot there. I think I'm just going to do one more pass on the outer edge of this bottom leaf and then smooth it out. It just feels like it needs a little more green, at least my painting does. So I'm smoothing that out with my damp, clean brush. Feathering it out from that center vein. Okay. So that's where I'll stop for all the leaves. So now I'm going to move into the last part, which might make some of you kind of nervous. So all of our paintings are finished, but now I do want to use a Fineliner to just go ahead and write right over the pencil and write down what we're working with here. So if you want, you can, if you feel kind of nervous, you can just grab the backside of another paper or just practice writing it. But just keep your arm relaxed and let's just go ahead and write these herb types with our Fineliner. Definitely helps to have that pencil underneath to use as a guide. So basil. Oops. Yeah, that's basil. Okay, I just freaked out for a sec. I was like, wait, that's not basil. Okay, so that's basil. Now rosemary. Okay, this is the long one. Rosemary. Very simple. Don't want to overthink it. Last one, sage. All right. So once your paintings are super, super dry, I would give it like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Come back and you can erase all the pencil markings as best you can underneath it. If you see any of them, I see a little bit in my sage, which I'm sure you do as well, because we have really light leaves. And then I also see pencil underneath the cursive. So there you have it. Let us know if you want to do more classes with herbs. I think that could be kind of a fun series. I would love to see these framed too. So if everyone wouldn't mind, I would love to do a couple things. I want to show you a couple of sneak peeks for future classes. But I would actually love if we could all hold up our little herb paintings so I can see them, because that's the fun part of teaching these classes, is getting to see what you made. So go ahead and hold them up if you feel confident. And I would love to see what you created. I'm going to just scroll through here. Awesome. So good. Wow. These look amazing.
Great work, everyone. Very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, these look incredible. Love it. All right, well, I'm going to go back to speaker view. Okay, so I'm going to hold up here a couple of future classes. So we're going to be doing a yarrow or yarrow, yarrow, I would say yarrow. We're going to do a yarrow class. I think we're going to do this one first week in November. So this is going to be a
November 2nd.
really fun class. November 2nd. Okay, so November 2nd for the yarrow. So can we pop the link to that in the chat so people can sign up?
Right there.
And then we're going to be doing, this is not exactly what we're going to be working on, but we are going to be doing a pomegranate painting that it'll probably be some sort of variation on what you're seeing here. But that's going to be the inspo for that class. So looking forward to it. That's going to be a fun one. And I think that's all for today. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you want to share these on social media, just tag Winsor Newton and Make It with Michaels, and make sure that you tag me so I can see it. And we'll see you guys November 2nd, hopefully, for the yarrow class, and a couple more times before the year is done. So thank you for being here. Much love to everybody. See you soon.
Thank you, Shalene.